is up? What is up, Camelback fam? We'll jump right into it. Welcome to Camelback Ventures Founder Fridays Instagram Live, where we dive into the inspiring stories of BIPOC women and non-binary founders. We talk about the triumphs and tribulations of being an entrepreneur of color and everything in between. So if you haven't joined us before, welcome to your first Founder Fridays. If you've been rocking with us the entire time since we launched the series, welcome back. We're happy you're here. I am Lex Lindsay, the Senior Associate of Marketing and Communications for Camelback Ventures and your host for today's conversation. And I am super, super excited to have with me today 2019 Camelback Fellow and founder and executive director of Believe Schools Indy, Kimberly Neal-Brannum. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome. How are you doing? How are you?
I'm good. Listen, Lex, I'm excited to be able to even have all the stars aligned to be here. I miss my Camelback fam, so I'm so glad to just be in the space with you guys today. I'm back to back because I'm doing some supporting new leaders. I just finished a PD on budgets and with some new leaders here in St. Louis, and then I've got a retreat to talk about growing our organization this weekend. So just super excited about all the cool things that are happening. So glad to be here. Really grateful.
Right on. Well, we're glad to have you. So just to give us a little bit of background, can you share just who you are, a little bit more about Believe Schools Indy and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we are a small charter that just launched during the middle of the pandemic in 2020. We're 9th, 10th, and 11th grade this year. We've got about 130 kids. We're adding about 100 students every year. We are early college and career. So our focus, I used to work in college or die schools and at Noble and Kip, shout out to my original Musician fam, but we can't keep doing college or die forever. We've got to start teaching our kids lots of different ways to earn and that there's ways to earn without going into debt. So our new model is designed to accelerate our best and brightest. And so we have kids that as early as 9th grade who are taking college classes, which is unheard of and unusual. And we have 9th and 10th grade taking AP courses, which is also not the common practice in our traditional system. But we also have kids who are going to go straight into the workforce. So we've got a bunch of kids who are learning supply chain demand and advanced manufacturing and construction, so that when they leave high school, even if they don't want to go to college, they're still going to earn a living that's going to not only allow them to survive, but to thrive.
Yes.
So goal, and that's what we're focused on. And super excited about our new model. We don't do any exclusionary discipline. We don't have 100% restorative and no rules, but we are thinking how we support our kids. So really excited about that, and I'm grateful for my launch with Camelback and in order to be here.
Yes. Awesome. I love that. I love that you are focusing on just alternative ways for students to get ahead, to just start moving forward. We hear about college being, for a while, it seems that college is kind of the only way that you can get ahead. And then, as you mentioned, you go into debt, it's not always the most feasible thing, especially for communities of color, folks from undervalued communities. So I love that is what you all are focusing on at Believe Schools Indy, and really appreciate the work that you're doing. Before we jump into the conversation, I like to ground each of our Founder Fridays lives with this one question, which is, what are you ruthless for good for?
Yeah, so I've always loved the Ruthless for Good, and I love rocking my Camelback apparel. I'm ruthless for good for closing the income gap. And as I alluded to a second ago, what I'm really passionate about right now is making sure that all of our scholars have choice when they leave us, and freedom and purpose in their lives. And I'm not focused like I used to be just on the scores that made us look good as educators. So my focus has shifted a ton in the last 5 years. And I'm really focused on making sure that we all win, that all of the people around me, my kids, my team, my colleagues, everybody that I'm around and in my village, I'm focused on making sure that we all win.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I was just speaking with someone today about, not only as you're moving forward in your path to success or moving forward on your journey, for not forgetting to like look back and extend a hand to those, you know, that are coming up after you, to just bring the entire community up together. Like that's what we got to be here for. More love, more building together, building together, and making sure that we all win. So thank you for that. All right, we're going to jump right into it with our first question. So I want to take it back to the beginning, the very, very beginning. What got you into entrepreneurship and eventually led to you founding Believe Schools?
So I had been working in no nonsense charters, high performing no nonsense charters
Mm-hmm.
For about 10 years, actually. I got my start as a founder in Chicago at Noble, and then I moved on to work at KIPP DC and had some really good experiences and some really good success and worked under some really dope leaders. Around 2017, I got increasingly frustrated after moving to DC, Chocolate City, and like really being in a place where just Black righteousness and freedom and power and excellence just is in abundance everywhere. I started thinking differently about education and what it's supposed to look like. But I had been working for well-intentioned folks for a long time who just didn't have the same views and alignment that I did. And I recognized that it was time for me to do something different. So in 2018, I quit my job, took a pay cut, moved across the country to start my own thing. And I know that's a super scary thing. I always joke and say that at some point I'm going to write a book about what it was like to leave your cushy, comfortable job to start off and become an entrepreneur and do something different. But I did it in 20. I had a big year. I got married, moved across the country, and my own org all within like 30 days. And it was a scary time, but it was so well worth it. And I think it was definitely just the right thing to do.
Awesome. Yes. I love that. Taking a leap of faith there. Oh my goodness. And so congratulations. I mean, I know it's years past, but congratulations on getting married and, you know, like just taking on all of those challenges at the same time. Hey, come on, flex the ring, sis. All right.
And I waited a long time. I was very career focused in my early days. So like I waited a long time to settle down and get married. No regrets. So I definitely had to wait for the right ones.
Yes, yes, indeed. Speaking of just like the challenges that you faced, both moving from, you know, like your cushy job to being an entrepreneur and founding your own school, can you speak to like what have been the biggest challenges, especially as a woman of color founding a school?
Funding. Originally funding. I was blessed because I had some really dope folks in the funding spaces that looked out and like supported me, but I didn't have access to the same level of like local dollars that other people in the space had. So at the same time that I was launching our school, KIPP, who is one of the big schools in our city, had just built a $10 million brand new building. Purdue, which is another big high school or small, big charter high school in our area, had just bought a building to do a gut rehab, some like $30 or $40 million rehab project. I didn't access to funds like that, and still to some extent don't. And so I'm competing in this like $3 million building that we're renting that we didn't even have a ton of capital to pour into to do a facelift, that just put us at a disadvantage on enrollment and things like that. Because when you're a student walking into high school and you walk into this big, beautiful $11 million building, and then you walk into our $3 million building, it's like, which one am I going to choose?
Right.
So I ran into some challenges on that front because I didn't have, and to some extent I'm still working on building the political capital that some of the older white males in the space had. And I think that people don't understand how that trickles down and has an impact on your ability to hire, your ability to enroll, your ability to just be successful. So that for me, I think was the biggest challenge starting off. I had run schools before and knew what it took, and think that I had a better headway than any of my colleagues, even if they had the big pretty buildings, on just like what our kids needed and how to support our families. But the financial piece was huge.
Yeah. How did you overcome that challenge? And how have you been, you know, just funding, I know, is a big piece for any entrepreneur. And so like, how have you tackled that?
So we have had some really good support with orgs like Camelback, New School Venture Fund. Shout out to Francis, and Charter School Growth Fund. Shout out to Daryl, Sonda, people on their team. There are some like leaders of color in the space who have said, "Hey, we believe in your mission and what you're doing, and we're going to invest." So that's allowed us, and then connected us with other people that believe in our vision and mission, and they've connected. So that's been super helpful. Aaron also is like the Slack channel where they're always throwing out opportunities. We were able to get some grants from that, from being a part of Camelback. So I just feel like because of the strong network of people that I was able to build pre-launch, I was able to keep my head above water. I wouldn't, and as we talk about like going from surviving to thriving, I would say we're midpoint between surviving and being in a place where we're thriving. And my goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to get to that thriving level.
Yes. All right. Well, we sending all the bag energy your way, sis. All the bag energy.
We need it.
Yes. So if you could share 1 to 2 pieces of advice for entrepreneurs or founders wanting to start schools, specifically women of color founders that are wanting to start schools, what would those 1 to 2 pieces of advice be, whether it be about funding or just entrepreneurship in general?
Quick advice that I would give is like network. So going to some of these functions that we don't necessarily want to go to, like convenings, the big charter school org, or whatever whatever the big function is for your area that you're looking to start in. Go and network, and don't be afraid to just talk to people and start building those relationships with folks, because people are going to invest in you as a person. People care about your idea. They care about what you're trying to create. But what people, especially what I've learned, is that what funders are really looking for is, are you a safe bet? Are you somebody that I want to take my time and invest in? So building up your personal brand, I think, is really important, and taking time to build strong relationships early on, that even if you don't know how they're going to be fruitful later on, making those networks and building up that village of people that you can call on, I think has been what's carried us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those pieces of advice. I'm sure those who are tapping in will really appreciate that. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk more about Believe Schools and you guys' impact. And so I want to start with what drove you to starting a school in Indianapolis specifically?
So I'm from the Midwest, and when I shopped around and literally shopped around cities to decide what made the most sense for me, coming back to the Midwest was like a coming home and full circle for me. I'm from St. Louis. My first high school was in Chicago, so I was coming from the East Coast at the time. So it was really a cool, like, full circle moment for me to piece, somewhere dead in the middle of our country. On the flip of that, Indianapolis also does not have a gifted and talented high school. So one of the gaps in their ecosystem that St. Louis had, DC has, Chicago has, most other major cities have gifted and talented schools that are accessible for children of color. Even if they're not in their neighborhood, even if they're hard to get in, there's a shot and there's a chance. When I was in Indy, it didn't exist. So there was nobody in the space that was accelerating academic performance for kids that look like me. And I was grateful to attend Gift and Talent School. I see some of my friends have joined, 2 or 3 of them who have joined went to Gift and Talented School with me. We were all in the magnet program here in St. Louis. And I want to give other kids that look like me that same opportunity. And Indianapolis was one of the cities that did not have that.
Yes. So were like a first mover essentially in Indianapolis? Oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah, so the charter movement was alive and well in Indy when I moved there. But even with the current charter schools, everybody pretty much is teaching to the middle. There are very few opportunities to advance and like say, hey, I'm coming into high school, I'm on grade level, I'm focused, and I know what I want to do. There were very few opportunities for people to be accelerated. And now if you come to Believe and you're on grade level and you know what you want to do, I'm going to put you in college classes as a freshman in high school. And by the time you leave, you can graduate high school and college at the same time. And is for our kids. Is if you're ready and that's what you want, our goal is to provide you all the opportunities that any other affluent kid would have access to.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. You said that you could graduate from high school and college at the same time.
Yep.
That is huge, especially for families who, like the financial piece of attending college, that it's a barrier, like, just for a lot of undervalued communities and families, like that is a huge barrier. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. That's crazy.
And we have our first graduating class that are well on track right now to graduate with an associate's degree.
Man, shout out to y'all at Believe Schools. Hold up. I needed this to be around when I was in high school.
Same. Because that are my age that are still paying off college debt.
Yes. Could you share an example or a story with us where you've seen the impact of Believe Schools, like witnessed it firsthand?
Yeah, so we're fresh and new. So we've only got a couple years under our belt. But one of the things that struck me most recently, we take our kids on trips every year. So our freshman camping, our sophomores just came back from their Midwest college tour. But while we were at camping, one of my kids braided my hair. I also support entrepreneurship. And I no free labor here. But she, while she was braiding my hair, we were just chatting. And one of the things that she said was that one of the other young ladies that was there was talking about her brother being bullied at his middle school. And I was like, yo, that's terrible. Is the school administration doing anything? And just asking questions. And the young lady that was braiding my hair said, Miss Neal, you know what I'm really grateful for is we don't do that here. That's not happening at our school. That's so old school. We don't do that at Believe. And that to me was the fruits of our labor, like in real time and in real life, because it let me know that we had created a safe space where kids, like they could come to high school and just focus on being kids and learners and not worry about being bullied and not worry about being harassed. And if it does happen, that is dealt with effectively, quickly and effectively. And that warmed my heart. And that's the early indicator that we're creating the kind of environment that I would want to send my own kids to. And hopefully anybody would want to send their own kids to.
Absolutely. Yes to that. Yes to that. So how do you see your work? We've talked about it a little bit, like giving students a leg up, especially students from undervalued communities, the ability to graduate high school and college at the same time, not take on a bunch of debt as opposed to attending a 4-year college afterwards, or even, a 2-year community college, anything, college after high school. So how do you see your work advancing racial equity?
So for me, the racial equity piece is that hopefully, and I know a lot of times we talk about closing the achievement gap. That's been like the catchphrase in our country, especially in education for the last 15, 20 years. For me, I'm focused on closing the income gap. And if not with the students that we serve and in the communities that we serve, but in a way where our scholars leave us equipped with the knowledge of how our financial systems work, that will allow them to be in positions and seats where they can continue the mission of closing the income gap in our country, whether they're building wealth on their own and generational wealth within their own families, but whether they're going out in the world and educating others and even people in their own family and community on the and making themselves knowledgeable of the financial literacy that we so desperately need in order to be successful.
Yes.
And
now, I'm sorry.
And build wealth.
Yes. I love that. All right. So what's next? What's next for Believe Schools? What are you guys working on? What's coming up?
Yeah, so we're growing. One of the cool things that I mentioned at the top of the time is that we're getting ready to have a retreat this weekend where a bunch of smart, dope folks are going to get together, similar to Camelback style. We used to do it in a house. We've got a little bit. So we're moving to a hotel this year, but we're all just going to get together and like have a brain trust to figure out what healthy growth should look like for our organization. So be on the horizon, hopefully, to see school 2 and 3 by 2025.
Oh, wait, school 2 and 3? Are you looking?
Oh,
okay. Well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out. Do you have some specific areas that you're scoping out, or are those on lockdown right now?
We're currently looking at Indianapolis and St. Louis. So we're open, but those are the places that we're focusing. Again, St. Louis will be just coming home for me. And we've got some good momentum and some really dope people here in St. Louis who are on board to supporting us making it happen. Ohio would be on the list. And I see Lansing, Michigan. Listen, we're not above Michigan. The Midwest is definitely going to be our main focus area, especially to start.
Yes, awesome. Yes, Lansing, Michigan. But it's actually my sister that's living in Lansing, Michigan, and I have nieces and nephews up there, and I know like they're coming up on high school age, and they need a school like this for sure. So
and you know it.
Put a bid in for Lansing. This is my bid.
I appreciate it, Lex. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I want to move into, you are a Camelback alumni, 2019, woo woo. What has Camelback meant to you and your venture, or you personally?
So Camelback allowed me to establish a network of folks who are some doing similar work, but others just doing dope work across our country. Recently, one of my Camelback colleagues, brothers is what I would call him, wrote like this random op-ed about me. He didn't tell me he was writing it. I didn't know he was doing it. He found pictures on the internet. Not my favorite pictures, just a reminder. My favorite. And like posted it, and it got so much traction and so many posts. People from our board saw it, they reposted it. And to know that we haven't really been in the same space in probably 3 years and pre-pandemic, and he's still like following and tracking what I'm doing meant the world to me. So just building those types of relationships with people that I know surpass the test of time has been invaluable, and having that village of people across the country has been dope on the like personal side. But on the practical side, being able to travel to different cities. I know you guys said you were in Denver, but being able to travel to different cities and understand the educational ecosystem across the country was one of the dopest experiences I've ever had. And it allowed me to have a deeper understanding of the challenges that face not only my community, but other communities of color everywhere, and meet a bunch of dope people in the process. So I'm super grateful for my time at Camelback. And I think that foundation is what's allowed me to be so knowledgeable and successful with my venture.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. You know, we're big on community. We're big on the Camelback fam, and just making sure that y'all are able to stay connected and get connected with, you know, other founders who are going through the same challenges as you, and, you know, like drawing energy and knowledge from each other. So that's awesome to hear. Thank you for that. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Just a fun question to wrap us up here. What do you do? You're a busy woman and you have a lot going on. And so we want to know, what do you do to practice self-care? How do you stay grounded and, you know, present?
Travel. That's always my quick and easy answer. So listen, part of it on the day-to-day is TV. So it's crazy how much time I'm able to dedicate to binging certain things. Shout out to just finishing the series finale of Ozark.
Oh my!
Been my most recent binge time on, but every now and then I get a Saturday or Sunday afternoon where I just don't have anything overly pressing to do, and me and my husband spend some time just binging something, and that's my like regular self-care activity. But my big picture self-care activity is travel. So recently I've been trying to do everything I can to support countries and communities that look like me. So we used to go to Mexico all the time because it was cheap, and I love supporting my Latinx family. So they're still on our list, and we'll probably hit them again at some point this year. But I've really been focused on going to islands and countries that are Black-led. So most recently for spring break, we went to Grenada, which was super expensive. But just being amongst our people who are like doing well and thriving, and learning about colonization and how the queen still owns half the land in the where my doctor is from. So I have a Black doctor in India, and she's from Grenada. So I went to her hometown and stayed in a hotel with somebody she knew personally to support our people. So that's been something that's been really important to me. And in June, we're going to Dakar in Senegal. Also support, some of you may know Akon is doing a lot of work out there and has like created a city outside of Dakar, about a few hours out. We're actually going to go to Point Serene, where Akon is doing a lot of his work and rebuilding his community and his country. So just taking my time, and when I do have a little time and change,
Right.
support places of people that look like me, and expanding my understanding of like global issues is also what I do for fun and self-care.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm sure you are so glad that travel has opened back up. I know I am, because that's what I like to do for self-care as well. I
Yeah.
gotta get some things. All right, Kimberly, it has been so amazing to have you on today, sharing your story, sharing the story of Believe Schools, and just your advice and having your energy. We are so grateful to have you as part of the Camelback fam, and just sharing, your knowledge and handing it down, to the folks that are coming afterwards. In closing, how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about Believe Schools and the work that y'all doing?
Yep. I hope everybody that's following follows us on social media. So follow our Instagram, follow our Facebook at Believe Schools ND. So definitely, and LinkedIn. So just kind of keep up with what we do. But I'm easily accessible. Email address is kneal at believeschools.org. And then come see us. If you're ever in the Midwest and in the middle of town, middle of the country, we have an open door policy, and we love for people to just come in and feel our vibe and feel our energy. So definitely spend time and come see us, and hopefully soon you'll be able to catch me in the loo as well.
Yes, awesome. Well, again, Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us today. To all of our viewers, thank you all for tapping in. We are here. Founder Fridays is every second and fourth Friday of the month. So, keep an eye out for the next conversation. We'll actually be taking it to Twitter Live in a couple of weeks, and we hope to see you there. Until then, take it easy, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Lex. Thanks to all the family that joined. I appreciate the support always. Good people.
Yes. All right. Take care, Kimberly. Thank you.
Bye.